Hey,
Richard, what's good?
I watched the first two extended edition Lord of the Rings movies over the past weekend using like a commentary. Like there's one of my favorite games outlets. They did like a commentary to these movies, so you could sync up the audio track with the movie and hear their commentary over it. But the Lord of the Rings extended edition are like 4 hours for each movie. So that was like 8 hours of movie watching, and there's still another four 4 hours to go for the final movie.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it's a new thing that I never really thought of, but I guess anyone can make a commentary track to a movie. And that's kind of a fun way. Like if you want to hear some like if you want to feel like you're watching a movie with like your favorite creators, you can just sync up their audio and they give their thoughts like as you watch the movie. It's a pretty fun way to rewatch a movie.
Yeah, I would just enjoy the extended edition.
Yeah, it was difficult. That's the only challenge was like getting the movie audio and their commentary to like not overlap. So I ended up like just kind of mostly muting the movie or keeping the sound on pretty low. I guess you could do like subtitles and just enough sound to hear like the music or something. But yeah, I'm fairly familiar with like the Lord of the Rings story, so I found that it was just fun to have like the visual reference and then hear their thoughts. But yeah, what have you been up to?
What I've been up to? Strength training, consolidating, same old, getting things done. Just trying to keep my head on straight. Keep stress
Yeah.
low, and I came back from the long weekend at a friend's farm. So set up a little gathering there of 30 people and had some fires,
Wow.
and that was cool.
The 30 people just like through your friend networks essentially.
Yeah, it's just acquaintances with a couple people that I like more than others.
And are they camping or something or
Yeah, we
fire
all
camping?
camped. We camped, and then we have like
That's fun.
a building that we use to prep food, and we serve food outside. It luckily didn't rain, so. But the weather was like, I don't know, scorching hot during the day, and then freezing cold at nighttime. Where like I regretted not having a toque.
Oh yeah.
It was a little interesting.
Yeah, that's something I usually don't think of when being outside like that, like how to like bring all the comfortable layers. I just always assume I just can't picture myself like being statically sitting there and being cold. So then I never think like I want like, insulated pants and a toque and stuff.
Well, given that I do like multi-day backpacking trips, my evening wear is usually like comfortable wear that'll keep me warm. Normally, there's a down jacket that's ultra light but super effective and insulating.
Yeah. And it's got a
And
hood.
yeah, but I also have a toque as well. So
Hmm.
I didn't pack either of those bloody things, thinking it was summertime still.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you don't have a hood. I like hoods, but yeah, if you don't have that either, that's kind of bad.
Yep.
I guess maybe you can like tie a shirt around your head as like a toque.
Yeah,
I
I
have this
survived.
like do you have one of those like tubular bandanas?
I do. Didn't pack that
Yeah.
either.
Oh, yeah. I liked for a while using those as a toque. You can like spin them and fold them, and they just make a nice like light toque thin layer.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah. Then I did some work in Blender. I made like a 3D model. I'm trying to make a tutorial for a simple like 3D game development, but there's a lot of little steps that I'm struggling. Like I'm sort of stumbling over the amount of tiny little steps, just displaying all of them in a clean way, in a sane way that I can like edit together in a simple video. And it's been hard. But I came up with this idea where now my game has like it has 5 rooms that are connected by short hallways, and each room I think the excitement for me is that each room is going to be slightly different. Like one is a little art gallery, one is a lounge area, and then the other one, I'm gonna make 5 different like scenes, and then write like a short audio story for each scene. But I think what this game will demonstrate is like one example of how to do all the mechanics. Like for example, I'll have like doors that open with a button press, and so that will allow me to teach people like how to wire that up in a game. And then also, but the thing I also want to teach is in a small room, like what are the number of stories that one could convey. And so there's sort of an exciting part where I'll like one of my rooms will just kind of be empty, but maybe you can press buttons to like configure it differently. Like you could press a button and then all of a sudden there'd be like boxes and like a truck there. And the story would be like there's something going on, like loading the truck full of boxes. But as a way to demonstrate, like if you just have like an empty space in a game, how can you very subtly like add objects to the space and then layer in like a story to sort of make the game tell some kind of story? Because the tutorial is not only about like teaching the mechanics, but also trying to inspire people to tell their own story like in a simple game space. But I did some like basic Blender work for that because it's quite difficult to film all the things I like, screen record all the stuff I need to record, and figure out the editing process is kind of like a gauntlet too, like trying to show cleanly how to do all the stuff without being like having a really long dense tutorial.
Yeah, sounds like a big project.
Yeah, I've tried like sort of scoping it down, but every time I just feel like I want one video that sort of touches on everything that one would need to design very simple environments in Blender, and then tell like a story where maybe there's a couple of interactive objects, there's some text in the world, there's audio clips that play, there's like, like the walls have physics. But that once you get all that, and then like a main menu for the game and how to export the game to the web, like I sort of want one video that gives everyone all the tools that lets them tell like a wide range of stories. But yeah, basically wanting that is, it turns out it's annoyingly like fiddly and complicated to like teach all that stuff. And that makes it feel like game development. Like I often thought like the basics of game development was not that complicated, but even with like modern tools, like there's a lot of like setup. Like you just have to configure a lot of stuff, and you have to like you have to like go in this one sub menu and add like the control keys and then detect them somewhere else. And there's just like a lot of like little things to know that are not very intuitive unless someone has like a background. So yeah, it's frustrating because it's sort of like, if I just want to give people like a 10-minute video that gets them started, it's quite difficult to build that video, and it makes it feel like something's wrong with game dev. Like it's not easy to just like show up and get started. There's a lot of like little gotchas that would prevent someone from making their first game. And it's like, it's not a very intuitive experience. So hopefully I can figure something out that like gets people like efficiently along the learning curve or something.
You don't have to limit yourself to one video.
Mm-hmm.
You could have beginning, moderate,
Yeah.
and then advanced.
Yeah, doing it that way could work. Yeah, I've thought of multiple videos. I haven't thought of that like beginning, moderate, advanced concept, because that could be true. Yeah, like just give people. Yeah, I could think of some very basic stuff, and then the advanced one could sort of assume the person's familiar with programming or something.
Exactly. So basic
Yeah.
intro video so that you're not glazing over. Because you're trying to cover everything. It's going to be too much.
Yeah.
Just give enough to get started so you can try things out, and then I think that's how I think I would approach it.
Yeah, definitely. It's way more fun the simpler the video is. it's more like pleasing to just show like 2 or 3 things. Sometimes, yeah, the first thought when I thought about multiple videos was like an independent video showing like how to make a menu, and then an independent one showing like how to add a player controls. And those are tough because then it's like a series of videos, but by the end of the series, like my video making style would be different, and so the series doesn't feel very like cohesive. uh like one, at least one video can very like plainly show there's no like tricks, you can start from scratch and go to the end.
I kind of feel like that's what people do.
Yeah.
They break things into bite-sized pieces, and they take way too fucking long to do it. Like some of them take like 30 minutes. But yeah, some are actually quick too, and I find those are pretty handy. And if you can present it all with some sort of index or have a way to link back to the relevant videos as required in your notes, like it's someone wants to do something more advanced, like a character, I don't know, character development, and that's what you're on, but then you might have to refer back to some older steps. And you can do that without actually having to explain what those are in any detail because you already have the video. You just link back to the video. And I've
Yeah,
seen
with
that
those,
before.
yeah, sometimes I feel like YouTube historically has not been the best at like lining up. Sometimes it's even a little bit messy to follow like a series of videos to find like the next one in the series. But if they're named correctly, it's not too bad. But there is like some energy, like when a video ends and you have to start the next video, I find that's like a dropping off point. Whereas like if it's just like a video that continues, there's even less being asked of the audience. They can just sort of stick around and get like they can look at the chapters of the one video and see like everything in a very tight package, rather than like thinking about how long is the series, and like does when a new video starts, does it like skip some steps, like if the starting position of the next video is not the same as the ending of the previous, that's a place where people following along could get lost. They don't know like what you did in between videos, kind of, or like I would lose track trying to sync that up. So then it's like the more the series becomes one video, the better it is. But then it is like then you're not really saving any effort making a series, because it's just like cutting one video up for whatever reason, for like
So
isolation.
things that come to mind for a long video is that people are going to see a 3-hour video or whatever and just be discouraged. And they might not want to find the different chapters, because you could list all the chapters and what's covered and put like little lines in the video, or parts that they can click on that takes them to that part that they want to find. But it's going to be super rare that anybody ever completes your entire video. You're not going to get a lot of complete views, so obviously you're not going to satisfy the algorithm. And just like having the multiple individual videos, if you're worried about like continuity or flow, beginning of the video is a quick, this is what we're covering, title page, like with the, this is episode 1, this is what we're doing, and then, quick synopsis, and then at the end you can say, okay, well, next up, we're going to do, next up is episode 3, so you're episode 2, you go to episode 3, and this is what we'll be covering. And even if the sequence doesn't directly go into episode 3, they can obviously look at your channel, which hopefully you can organize based off of, increasing episodes, and they can find it. So I think if it's a complex thing that you're doing, perhaps bite-sized pieces would be a good approach. And then you could take it if they're all similar and they all do something to create, like, to do one particular. I don't know how to put this. Let's say if it's a similar category, creating an object or a character, but there's multiple steps to do it that you try to like break into different videos. You can consolidate it into one. but that the whole creating of the structure in itself, like how you're going to do that, that's a lot of work, and that's where I think one needs to invest their time, because if the structure isn't good, you could be wasting your energy like creating videos that just don't make sense, that don't flow well.
Mhm.
So it's like creating a structure of how you're going to do this is super important. So
Yeah,
if
that's
you're just
definitely
trying to
true.
do,
That's something that I'm struggling with as well. It is like a complicated thing. The structure is complicated. So I almost have to build several simple games myself and like write down the steps. And that's what I sort of didn't really anticipate. I figured I could just sort of sit down and work my way through it. But yeah, it's not well enough organized because I end up jumping around between tasks. And so yeah, I really need to, but that's the challenge, is it's a lot of effort and investment to like write down that structure. So I'm kind of still hoping I can like somehow avoid that, but and the video won't be disorganized. But yeah, it's a tough like balance.
yeah, if I had a better appreciation of what it is you're doing, then maybe I could advise better. But I honestly don't. I'm just thinking of what I've seen laid out before and what was effective and what wasn't so effective. And yeah, so YouTube is
Yeah, pretty. Uh, I was thinking of this cool idea where uh, I would make like a 3D first person game, and you could walk around the game, and like if you saw like an object, like a painting on the wall, you could like click the painting on the wall, and it would it would like open up a video that tells you how to create that object. And that would be a neat, because you'd be like you just be like walking around a first person game, and anytime you saw something that looked cool, you could click it and it would show you like how that object was made in the game that you're in. But that would be even higher level of like organization or coordination or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the audience that would bite onto that, but that'd be kind of interesting. Yeah, that'd be a different way, I would say, to offer a tutorial on how to program. Is first person character sprite goes around and
Yeah.
they can see what it is they want to do, but how do you capture? I don't know. There's certain things like how do you capture
Right.
building the environment or the setting that the character's in? Like how do you show that within the scenario, within the simulation? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
stuff that's yeah, I guess it would be like links to, like it would open YouTube, like open specific videos on YouTube. But yeah, any like non-visible thing that is built, like the controls for the character themselves, you'd have to have some kind of like visual representation for that in the game that the player could like walk up to and click.
yeah. Well, man, my days of programming, I appreciated having them, but I think they're done.
It could be done as like a Zen style, like if you did very like basic puzzle solving style programming, it could kind of be like a meditation thing, like doing like playing chess kind of for as like as a hobby, just to like stimulate the mind.
Hmm. Well, speaking of stimulating the mind, I'm getting an electric guitar.
Oh yeah. Have you ever
Yeah,
played the guitar?
I think I picked up an electric guitar before back in high school. I've tried an acoustic guitar outside of high school. I never really took it seriously. Piano's been my thing. But I'm told that my buddy, who's quite the guitar composer, he's like, electric guitars are quieter and they're easier on the fingers for beginners. So that might be my instrument.
Yeah, you can plug headphones into an electric guitar, and I always thought that was cool because then you can kind of play really loud and hear the sound really really well, but just for the individual, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'd be going for.
Yeah.
And I was kind of visualizing the room that has my grand piano and BC, and just like having the different instruments that I've always wanted to learn: cello, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, the piano, violin. Those are the main ones. And then just like actually knowing how to play them and then recording those instruments into making different songs with the instruments I know how to play. So like I'll compose one piece, and then another, and then or like one instrument and then another, and they all kind of combine. Now I could use instruments that are already, in a software and just smash a piano key and then the violin note plays. But it'd be kind of cool too to actually have the skill to play the instrument, to feel it reverb or resonate.
Yeah,
So
that would be cool to like play one instrument in the room and record it in the room and then like listen to what you played back while playing a different instrument. And then like it's all in the same, like you're recording in that room, you're playing in that room, and you're like hearing the song as it's built as you like play along with the next instrument. That would be a
yeah,
cool process.
yeah, and like knowing how to play the violin, for instance, like smashing a note on a keyboard and a string note playing, like that's one thing. But does that actually truly reflect what a violin sounds like? 'Cause I know that violin, like with the what's it called, the bow, the complicated
But
thing you use to actually play the string. You
I think both.
can do a forward motion and backwards motion, and then you can make it kind of tremble, and you can pluck it, and there's so many different ways to play it that I've seen.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you get that with your your software that you're using? So I think by having an appreciation of how the instrument is supposed to sound, then you can, if you choose to use MIDI or whatever, duplicate that correctly. So I was thinking maybe cello for the bass, piano, violin to harmonize with some electric guitar parts that really like take it to the next level. Because I tend to like ebb and flow when I play. I'll start gentle, I'll become more intense. People would call that the chorus, but it's a more intense piece in the song, and then I kind of go gentle again, but it's not always the same thing that I'm playing. Like it's not mechanical or repetitive. I change it, I develop it as I go, and it kind of increases in intensity and volume, and the notes too become, like I don't just play the same range. I will harmonize and play higher notes, and eventually just let it taper off. And I have a particular style that I finally heard someone like me, but in my mind they weren't as good, and it was the piano that was there's like this Chinese girl that makes her own furniture, does her own cooking. She lives in the mountains, northern China. Very beautiful and very like everything she's doing. She herself is very beautiful, and then the piano that's accompanying what she's doing is very lovely as
Yeah.
well. And I'm just like, I'm getting my pedicure looking at this thing, and I'm just like, wow, like she's living the life that I want to live. And if she's composing those pieces for her videos, she's doing it all.
Yeah,
And I'm
it
just
seems impossible that people like that exist, but it's like mind blowing when they can, like, especially if they're kind of shaping a lot of their own content, if they're doing their own video editing and stuff. It's like this incredibly multi-talented, skillful life that is like both online but also completely removed, like up in this mountain. It just seems, yeah, like the ideal, like they figured out the ideal thing and they're doing it in practice, not just like in theory or something.
yeah, and she's doing all the things that I want to do. Like I want to cook. Cooking to me is science and art combined. And I want to do carpentry. And she was like doing a whole bunch of shit, making her own furniture and decorations, her own gardening. She goes into the mountains and collects her root vegetables that she's planted and then makes delicious meals. I'm like, this is exactly how I want to live my life, given that I am free. But I'm still kind of not free in that I don't have the skill or access to these environments to be able to do this. And so I kind of feel like I should be putting my energy into creating a plan. And I don't know if there's any places in Canada that would make sense to do that because I want to grow all year round. I don't want to deal with capitalism anymore. So I don't know if I need to cross the pond or go to Costa Rica. But then I also don't want to learn another language. Let's be real here. I definitely don't want to learn Italian. And Spanish is, I was starting to learn it. It wasn't too bad. At least in Costa Rica, you can get by with English, because states are taking over.
Maybe you could test it out because there's you can go to like another country and basically like live on a farm like for free. And if you found like the right farm that is kind of the way you'd run a farm, then you could just kind of go there and be a worker, and that would show you like what's available, and maybe you'd get some connections about like there's a farm for sale that you could then get into, like, but at least you'd get a sense of like find like some kind of yoga farm self-sustaining retreat that needs workers or something, and like do a 3 weeks there or something to figure out if it's the right place. And then maybe then you could meet people that would know about real estate and other farms or how to get started or something.
Well, I kind of stumbled upon that when I was in Costa Rica. It's called Rancho Margo. It's one of the many places where you can wolf.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to do. And then I got into a relationship with someone that can't get away for a month. And she's
Yeah,
unhappy
that's tough.
if I just
Yeah.
go and do that. And then there's like resentment and shit.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about how like relationships are the thing that enables us to do stuff, but also it always like puts limits on things.
Still there?
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering
Right.
if you do have to end at 5 or 8
Yeah,
your
still
time.
got a little bit more time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's nice to have a partner that gets you, and then there's like this expectation of marriage, and a lot of women want to have kids if they can, and I
Yeah, it's
guess
a lot.
growing a family, I guess, is a lovely thing, but I'm trying to be more. It's interesting. This just created another thought, but the planet's overpopulated. I don't want to contribute to the problem. I want to reduce my impact. If anything, have a negative carbon footprint. So I'm also considering doing tree planting, but then I hear there's a serious rape culture there, which I'm gonna end up fucking snapping necks if I stumble upon anything like that. So I don't know if that would be good for me. Um, but I do want to plant trees. But it's like, at the same time, if we just had better logging practices, perhaps,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like I feel like we're cleaning up after companies that are, pulling our raw resources in Canada and just shipping them out to the States to be processed, to be shipped back. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Canada doesn't make any sense, really. But I'm thinking like other ways I can reduce my carbon footprint. Use less plastic, reusable glass kind of thing, right? Like also being mindful of microplastics. But I'm reading a book called Island from what's his lips? Aldous Huxley, who did Brave New World. He wrote Brave New World in like the
Mm.
1930s. And some of his writing is a little bit, he uses a lot of complicated words, but some of it actually just does not connect. Like where I reread it over 20 times, I'm like, this is not making any sense at all. And even if I were to translate every single word, like know what every word means, like I still not understanding what it is that he's trying to say. There's just not enough context sometimes. But the things that he's saying in this book, like these ideas that he has of like different utopias with Brave New World and with the island, Pala, I think maybe it's Polynesian or something. But basically, like his ideas, he was thinking way ahead of his time. He was talking about the population that in 1960 something when he wrote the book being like 2.6 billion, which was already excessive, and how humanity is breeding itself into misery. We have like these huge populations of people who can't afford to live. They live in slums and they're suffering and can't get access to complete Medicare, medical care. And one part is it's interesting because he kind of communicates his views through the different characters at different times. And one of his views that he was sharing is about our medical system and our approach. And what he was doing was he was comparing Pala's medical system versus the rest of the world. And he basically, this young nurse who's 18, right off the bat, the fact like how she is trained is far better than how medical students are trained, at least in North America. Like she starts at a very young age and balances practical and theory, so it's like sort of half and half. And so she's a young nurse, but extremely capable at the age of 18. And basically, there was like a part in the book where she was talking about her experience of like these psychiatrists that came to visit Pala to kind of like give a seminar or share what they know. And the medical professionals of Pala were like shocked at how antiquated and incomplete their approach is. She was saying like the psychiatrists only view the organism as the mind, the mouth, and the anus, and that's it. Like that's how the psychiatrist seems to appear, like how they view humans. When us as a complete organism is much more complicated. It's not just the mind that the doctor should be considering. They should be considering also the body and the environment that that body is in, and the injuries, let's say. Like, so if you're injured or you have diseases, how that affects the mind. It's not, we're not just isolated. And I thought that was really interesting how basically, from the nurse's point of view, which is obviously the author, how he perceives our healthcare and the approach of doctors, not just psychiatrists, but all doctors, as incomplete. That we lack a holistic approach to care. And one of the other characters, the protagonist, is like, yeah, why? Why don't they care about the holistic approaches? Because just curing people who are sick is what's most profitable. So one half is the cure, and then the author's opinion is that the other half of prevention isn't there. It's sort of like half medicine. And I agree fully. Going through the medical system and being tremendously sick and eventually working with a natural path. Everything that I go for is completely and fully siloed. If I go for my IBS, they don't look at anything else. If I go for my mental stuff, they don't look at anything else. If I go for my physical injury, my neck pain, they don't look at anything else. They only look at each component, but not how it's linked in the body. And I'm like I have migraines, and then the neurologist is like, well, we'll do a scan and we'll put you on medication. I'm like, I already know what's wrong, doctor. I was like, I have scalp tension. It's leading to androgenetic alopecia hair loss. It's likely caused by my cervical spine like being injured. I have degenerative disc disease. I have arthritis in my shoulders and tightness in my back and lumbar spine. And, it's like this tightness is pulling the back of my head. It's causing me to lose hair and it's giving me migraines. And he's like, no, 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 that's not what it is. And it's like, without even doing anything, he's just like dismissing what I'm thinking. But I kind of know my case better than the doctors do because, like, I'm obviously living it. All right, one sec here.
Yeah, I guess they can't like say anything unless they've got like a treatment plan to propose, and then if they're not like willing to like propose a whole treatment schedule or prescribe something, then I feel like they're not allowed to like say anything. And like it's like seems kind of like bureaucratic in a sense. Like they can't give you their they can't give you advice unless they're like billing you for something, and then they don't want to bill you, so then they just like have to have a neutral opinion or something. And it's kind of weird. It's just like just give as much advice as possible, and not be concerned about like medical whatever.
Well, he's billing me or the system regardless. And I said to him too, it's like I do scalp massages. When I do them consistently, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, my scalp tension isn't there. I don't feel the knots. And I don't have headaches. And I'm like, what else more do you need? Why do you need to do a fucking CAT scan of my brain to see if there's anything neurological when I'm telling you it's superficial? And I don't need to take these hardcore drugs for pain. I said, what I need is Botox, bro. I need to have to counter or have support in countering the chronic scalp tension, which is also causing hair loss, which studies show is linked to scalp tension and inflammation. But in the end, he printed off a bunch of irrelevant resources with a printer that barely had any ink and said, like, we're going to extend you for a fucking scan. He didn't hear anything I had to say. He didn't care. And then he's like, well, eventually when you get the scan, then we'll follow up and we'll go through the next steps. And it's like been 2 months and I haven't even got a call for my scan. I'm like, that's the medical system in Canada, or lack of.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like I'm saying, like I'm have migraines most days and barely able to like fucking do anything because of them. Now, I've been massaging, so I'm a lot better. But it's like, I shouldn't have to massage, man. Like I shouldn't have to massage twice a day just to have these issues dealt with. Anyway, what I'm getting at is all the specialists I talk to, it's like, yeah, they're doctors. How current are they? And like, are they really at the edge of their field? Like, are they really following everything? Because I had a GI specialist tell me that probiotics aren't a thing, that there's not enough studies on them. And I was like, really, bro? I was like, you're going to prescribe me antibiotics and not give me any probiotics or like rebuild my gut biome? And this is what I'm talking about. It's like he's addressing a bacterial overgrowth, and then there's no follow-up treatment to prevent it from ever happening again because he's just completely dismissing everything out there regarding a healthy gut biome and taking supplements, like taking probiotics. And so it was by working with a naturopath that I was like, oh, I did a GI test. My microbiome's fucked in many different ways. I took the protocol to rebuild it back. I was lacking Akkermansia, which is responsible for like 5% of the biome and interferes with so it has an impact on metabolism and weight gain and stuff. So I had to take a supplement outside of the protocol, and that cost a lot of money, and I had to do a lot of tests, and it's all important shit. But they don't look at the gut biome, which shapes everything, like our autoimmune response, how we react to foods. If they don't want to deal with it, they just call IBS and they send you on your way and they say don't eat a high FODMAP diet, eat a low FODMAP diet. FODMAP. So don't have fermented stuff. But yet fermented stuff is what helps us build a gut biome. Anyway, man, I just thought it was fascinating that this guy, this author, he has this idea of what an ideal society should look like, and that even back then, that 2 billion people, 2.6 billion people, that was too much, and now we're at 8. So I'm thinking, like, do I really want to contribute to the problem? And circling back, I guess fully, it's like we're kind of told, get married, have kids, and whatever else, and it's like, is that really what I want to do? Or do I just
Yeah, I
want
guess
to
I guess it's good to base it on like trying to get in touch with what we want to do. And then I'm sure there's a way to figure out how to do whatever sustainably. But really, I guess the core of it should be like trying to figure out what our true preference is ourselves, and like ignore all the other signals, but also do like, I guess it's healthy to do like a compromise, like not to live in isolation, but try to like find someone you can trust and like work out some kind of system of compromises that allows you to pursue what you want while also supporting others. But yeah, it's, who knows, that could be sort of, we could have any preference, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see the system for what it is. It's like we're born in the modern day slavery, and it's becoming more and more difficult to own assets that give us passive income. And I want to find a better way. And I want to, if I do have an offspring, I want to be able to teach them that. But right now, I'm not able to because I'm still dependent on the grid, and I don't want to be.
Yeah, one thought I had about that, you talked about that person on the mountain, and I feel like it's probably fairly, like the videos they produce or whatever are probably fairly accurate to like their life, but it is very easy to make like compelling videos, like whatever someone's life is like. You can always make videos that make it look like very well rounded and pure. And one test is like for the lives that you and me have right now, if we make videos of our life that like intentionally tells the story of like how balanced and perfect our lives are, then can get an assessment for like if that person on the mountain was really sort of like knowingly or unknowingly like giving us like a bias interpretation of their life by like not showing, like maybe there are businesses and supermarkets or they have some kind of other job or frustration, but they don't show it like in their videos, and they do like a really good job of not letting that come through. Like, because if basically we could test like to what extent could they be doing that by, if we can reach like their, if we can produce videos of our life that reach the same like height in terms of showcasing like a perfect pure life, but in our circumstance, then we could sort of get a sense of like how much can be hidden in videos. Because then as well, it's like if we can tell a story that makes our life look really pure and compelling, and like almost convince ourselves like that, like we'd watch our own videos and be like, our like on the screen our life does look as good as we'd want it to be, but in reality we'd know like what goes on behind the scenes that we choose. But it would almost be like that's the mindset of like ignore like the stuff we can't control that we don't like, ignore that, and then film and study like the stuff that we do like, and just put together a collection of like the good parts of our life to showcase them. And then then we watch our own video and we see like a perspective, like a way of looking at our own life that is only the good parts. And then we sort of I think there's some meaning in that I'm kind of fascinated with.
Yeah, so you're talking about Instagram influencers and whatever who just capture the best moments of their life,
Yeah.
and everything's like
Yeah,
great.
some of them do it in like a, yeah, often it's like too perfect. But then like I feel like there's a deeper influencer, like this person in China on the mountain. I feel like they're showing like the highlights of their life, but in like a really fulfilling way. Like it's almost like they've gone deep enough where the highlights are like that looks like a full, like they're not hiding part of their life. It looks very full. And so then maybe it like, it's hard to believe it that it wouldn't be. But then like, I feel like for us too, we could, you could cook like one meal, do one workout, do a single hike, play a song, and then that looks like a pretty full life, but there's a lot of time in between, and there's a lot of like thoughts in the person's head that don't get shown like on screen. But then then you could sort of look back on your own video and be like, I did cook and I did play music and I did like hike, and it would be hard to almost deny yourself that you're not living like some kind of perfect life in some way. And that's very interesting to me, is like, if we like, the more content we make that insists that our own life is the way we want, then suddenly it's hard for ourselves to even deny that we are living like, or that maybe that life, like we almost make a realization that the life is impossible. Like, to live the perfect life, especially to film it, you need to sort of do work behind the scenes to create the film, and that the creation of the perfect film is not like the perfect life. It's like in service of showcasing the perfect life, which cannot be lived. Yeah, it's like a paradox, but I really enjoy those kind of things, like the reflecting on that. Yeah.
I just realized a couple of things too. Back when land was more available, that you could have a life like that, while then there was imperialism and kings and queens, monarchs of old that would tax you and make you go to war and die. And then at the other part of this is, if you go back further and further, we didn't have the domesticated crops, animals that we do now, that could allow us to have a nice peaceful homestead. And so when I'm really thinking about this, it's like, as it would be nice to have the freedom to be able to have all of that without some entity breathing down your neck, demanding taxes and whatever, and sending you off to war. And in China, well, we know how that government is, and a lot of investors are like buying up Canadian properties because the Chinese government can come in and just take whatever they want, for the homeland or whatever. And it's like she could have this ideal lifestyle, be subsistent, or like, that's the right word, like be able to live on her own. But then there's always the threat of a government that can come in and take it all away. And for me, it's like, I realize that she's showing a life that I would like and appreciate if I could not be at the mercy of the state. But no matter where I go, the state will always be there. And this is why this book, Island, is very interesting, is because it is like it's the only last free remaining state in the entire world that hasn't succumbed to capitalism or some shitty way of life, where people are free and liberal, and there's like no pollution. It's a modern utopia, not a future utopia, but a modern one, where where other nations are surrounding the islands that can, parachute in, but they can't take over, or they won't take over for one reason or another. I think it's interesting because, like, yes, I may want and wish for what it is that this girl in China has, but then again, she's in China. So it's super beautiful,
which I guess is kind of, it's like that's maybe one of the things that is not explicitly shown in the video, is like, the government under which they live, which may be present, that could, if that, depending on how present that knowledge is in their mind, it could sort of make them feel like they don't live this beautiful free life, when if you watch the video in isolation, you don't really think about that, then it does seem better.
Exactly.
It's because it's like abstracted from the nitty gritty of reality, like filing taxes or whatever, or like fighting for your land or something.
This, with the rule of law, the world is as safe as it's ever been, but at the same time, we have an overpopulation issue. I mean, to be free, I wonder what it means to be free in the world today. Are the rich free? Because I find that owning a business, having entities and dealing with lawyers and having money and being visible to the public. I mean, if you're Taylor Swift, you're not free. You're a slave to the people and the people's opinion. And you have wealth because you have their favor. And if you are like a political entity too, are you really free? You have power and money. Are you truly free? If you have to be
I
accountable
say,
to the people.
you're like watched, like you're always watched. You always need security. You need to like plan in advance all your movements. You can never just walk anonymously like amongst the people and appreciate the individual's life. Like you're siloed off, and you can't really ever go back.
So what is it to be free? Like to be unknown, to be untracked, unmonitored, to have enough resources to not have to be a slave, but to be insignificant enough to not have to watch your back. I mean, that's what I'm striving for. That's what
It
I'm
could
looking
be like I wonder if there's like a paradox where like if you're completely free, then you have nothing binding you to the world, like you have no obligations or relationships or anything, and then you're missing, you don't, then you like don't have the freedom to enjoy the company of others in some sense. And so then there's like a balance that needs to be struck between like having pockets of time where you can sort of do what you want, and then other pockets of time where you're like connected back in some way, and you do have obligations and exchanges that you make with other people. But there's never, I feel like there's no like golden rules that design, like can state in absolute like the free life or something. It's just like a balancing act and the balancing point is like different for every individual. And that means that as an individual, if we make like a relationship with another person, we have to like learn what their version of this like balancing act is, and then compromise between ours and theirs. And that's like a a super complicated like equation that has no answer or something. And that's kind of, it's pretty fascinating to like think like there isn't like, we can't like stumble upon the answer or something. It's kind of cool that it resists, like this sort of resists like an explanation or something, or a set of rules.
Yeah, because I'm trying to. I mean, what I'm trying to figure out what it is to be free and what it looks like, and I kind of I was shaping sort of it from like a larger, from like, I don't know, a more macro point of view, but what it means to be free also like day to day in your life. And that's where I think minimalism comes in, where when it comes to the number of people that you track, the number of possessions that you own, because your possessions own you, frankly. I'm thinking I have a place in BC. I have I have furniture. I have dishes and a bed and a dresser, and I think about them. They tie up bandwidth in my mind as I'm trying to be present in Toronto for this relationship that I'm in. Like they're constantly chewing up bandwidth. And like there's things I'm thinking, I'm tracking, like what I'm gonna do. I don't even use my dresser. I don't even use the TV unit that I have in the room. My bed frame, is it truly needed, or do I just put my box spring and my mattress on the floor? Like I have all this extra stuff that I have because I was always, this is what I saw other people having this, but I don't use my dresser. I have so few clothes, I can hang them all up and have them contained in a little travel bag, like. And then I have this grand piano that is massive and costs money to move, but it is an anchor. It's an anchor to the property and the property itself. It's the condo is a box floating in the air that is a liability. I have to have insurance to offset that risk. And really, it's a home, it's a space to go to, but it's something that I have to track and maintain and pay insurance for, utilities, everything. I got to maintain the appliances, the fridge, the stove, do the plumbing, the fucking fire alarm, which is a pain in the ass, and I have to paint because I have previous tenants. So these are all, you got to upkeep the place,
Yeah.
But that property doesn't really offer much. Like, there's no land. I can't grow anything. I can't be, off grid with it. I have to be fully on the grid in the condo. So I'm thinking, like, right off the bat, like, this entire setup goes against what it means to be free. I have a condo board. I have to be accountable to other people. I have someone pulling money out of me to maintain this larger structure. And people are making decisions on behalf of me. I may have a vote, but again, I'm only one of how many units, right?
Yeah.
I don't ever want a maintenance or strata fee increase. They should be more efficient or more effective with the money they do have. The $100,000 sitting in an account should be collecting interest, frankly, because it is a longer term. It's there for longer term projects instead of increasing. But it doesn't matter. I don't have a say, not really. And this is sort of what I'm locked into because I have this asset. In the end, it grips me and owns me and prevents me from being free.
Mm-hmm.
And the more of these things that you have, the more collars around the neck that you have, and the more you have to like pay for them, the more lenders you have to deal with, the more numbers and complications, and the more complex your taxes, and it opens you up to risk. So I'm starting to realize that freedom is having enough wealth to be able to live comfortably, but not having these assets that bog you down. I guess the thing I need to figure out is, where does one live in a world where there is no free land? Where does one go to survive and to live?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So, because environment and climate is important too. If you live in a climate that is hostile, good luck trying to survive. It's going to stress you out if you can, even like being in Canada, the Northern Hemisphere, and dealing with super hot and humid summers and frigid, cold in the winter and extensive periods of darkness, like that's not good for one's health. It's stressful actually on the system. So it's like, where does one live? And and where they don't have the government breathing down their neck, where the taxes aren't unrealistic, where you can still get access to healthcare. And I'm starting to wonder if it is Central America, but away from the drug cartel, those fuckers, you know? Or is it the EU? Does the EU have the right idea? But then again, Europe is what it is, and there's war, and so where is paradise on Earth? Where
Yeah, it
should
is
one?
nice, like the nomad concept, like kind of just staying in a place, but having the ability to move countries if, like, if you run into a situation where you don't agree with something or you feel like restricted, then shifting to another country and sort of always gaining like a new experience about how a different country does things by living there. I feel like that would be kind of, I don't think it would be like sustainable or even good, but it would just be interesting to spend like 6 months or a year in all these different places, and then in the end sort of having a understanding of what policies work or something.
Yeah, because like traveling is one thing, but I'm still thinking about having a longer term home where, because no matter where you are, one nation at least is going to own you. So which one do you choose? Where do you choose to set up shop?
Yeah.
Is it Costa Rica? For me, could it be Holland, perhaps? Do I align with that culture and those people? I don't know. So it's a lot of people don't even think about this stuff. They're just nose to the grindstone because that's all they know. That's what's been bred into them. They've been brainwashed to be cogs in the machine. And that's it. But what is
Yeah.
freedom? And how do we obtain it? How do we free our minds so that we can be present instead of bogged down by bureaucracy and administration? And anyway, these are the things I'm thinking about and I'm working towards. But
Yeah, these are interesting. I like thinking about this kind of stuff. So it's good that we brought it up, and yeah, like next time we can continue digging into this.
nice, man. All right, well, I think that's good for time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll catch you later.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Bye, bro.
Bye.